You've been told startups fail because the idea wasn't good enough. That's almost never the reason. 90% of startups die, and most of them die with a perfectly decent idea sitting in a dead company. This isn't going to be another list of tips for entrepreneurs. This is the actual mechanics of why businesses collapse, and why a tiny fraction explode into billion-dollar companies. And the answer has almost nothing to do with how clever the idea was. But before I get into that, you need to understand what everyone gets wrong first. Picture the guy who spends 14 months building an app in secret, convinced that when he finally launches, the world will erupt. He's polished every pixel. He's got a logo, a tagline, a pitch deck with a hockey stick graph. He launches. 40 people sign up. 38 of them never come back. Why does this keep happening to smart, capable people? Because he built in a vacuum. He fell in love with a solution before confirming anyone had the problem. This is the single most common startup killer, and it's not close. Roughly 35% of failed startups die because they built something nobody actually wanted. Not a bad product, an unwanted one. Two very different things. A bad product with real demand gets fixed. A good product with no demand gets ignored, politely, forever. Here's the uncomfortable part. The market doesn't care how hard you worked. It doesn't care about your 16-hour days or your maxed-out credit card. It only responds to one question. Does this make my life measurably better right now? If the answer's fuzzy, you're already losing. So why does this matter to you? Because the instinct to build first, ask later feels productive. It feels like progress. It's actually the slowest, most expensive way to find out you're wrong. Passive confidence is just untested assumption wearing a nice outfit. And this is where the real story starts. Because building the wrong thing is only failure number one. There's a second, quieter killer that takes down companies who actually nailed the product. That part's coming. But first, let's talk about what happens when you get the product right and everything still falls apart anyway. Let's talk about the company that actually built something people wanted. Users loved it. Retention looked healthy. Reviews were glowing. And it still died, 18 months later, quietly, without a single article written about it. Because getting people to want your product is only step one. Getting them to want it faster than your cash runs out is the actual game. This is called product market fit, and it's less a checkbox and more a moving target. It's the moment when the market pulls the product out of your hands instead of you pushing it in. You'll know you don't have it when growth feels like dragging a sled uphill. Every sale takes convincing. Every user needs hand-holding. You'll know you have it when your biggest problem becomes keeping the servers running. Most founders never make it to that second feeling. They spend years pushing the sled. But here's where it gets interesting, because even companies with real product market fit still run out of money, and running out of cash accounts for nearly 29% of startup deaths. Not because the business was bad, because the runway was shorter than the patience of the market. Think of it like sprinting a marathon. You can have the best form in the room, but if you gas out at mile 6, your technique doesn't matter anymore. Now let's talk about the part nobody explains well: competitive advantage. A revolutionary idea is worth almost nothing if it can be copied in 6 weeks by a team with better distribution. I remember tracking a small app that hit 12,000 downloads in its first month. Pure enthusiasm, pure momentum, and watching a competitor with 20 times the ad budget clone the core feature in under a month and bury it. The idea wasn't the moat, it never is. The moat is whatever's expensive or slow for someone else to copy. Brand trust, proprietary data, network effects, distribution relationships built over years, not weekends. So why does this matter to you? Because Build a Better Mousetrap is a fantasy sold to people who've never competed against a company with real capital and real reach. A better product with no moat is a temporary lead, not a business. And here's the twist, the part almost nobody wants to hear. The startups that scale into billion-dollar companies usually aren't the ones with the smartest founders or the most original ideas. They're the ones that figured out distribution before their competitors did. Facebook wasn't the first social network. Google wasn't the first search engine. They just figured out how to get in front of people faster and cheaper than anyone else. And once that flywheel starts spinning, competitors are chasing a car that's already merging onto the highway. Execution amplifies this or exposes it. Weak execution, missed timelines, sloppy hiring, founders arguing instead of deciding, is blamed for another chunk of failures, but it's rarely the root cause. It's usually a symptom of a team that never had real market pull in the first place, scrambling to manufacture momentum that was never going to come from effort alone. A brilliant idea, badly executed, still occasionally survives. A mediocre idea, flawlessly distributed, wins constantly. Sit with that for a second. So let's put this together, because knowing the causes of failure means nothing without seeing how the survivors actually move. Imagine someone starting today, not with a business plan, but with a problem they've watched real people complain about for months. First, they'd talk to 20 of those people before writing a single line of code, not to pitch them, just to listen for the word finally. That word is worth more than any focus group. Then, instead of building the full vision, they'd ship something embarrassingly small, something that solves one sliver of the problem, because a small thing that works beats a big thing that might. From there, the real founders obsess over one number, not revenue, not followers, but how fast someone new can go from stranger to paying customer. If that number's rising, they pour fuel on it. If it's flat, they stop building features and go find out why people are quietly leaving. Growing a business that leaks customers out the back is like filling a bucket with holes in it. More effort just means more water on the floor. And this is where scaling either becomes a company or becomes a cautionary tale. Scaling too early, hiring fast, spending on ads, opening new markets before the core engine even works, kills companies that would have otherwise survived. It's pouring gasoline on a fire that hasn't caught yet. Scaling at the right moment, once demand is already pulling harder than the team can supply, turns a small business into something that compounds on its own. This is the part that separates the people who actually build something from the people who just talk about building something. The willingness to stay small and unglamorous for a year, while everyone else is chasing a headline. Nobody screenshots the 11 months before the breakthrough. They only see what came after. None of this required a revolutionary idea. It required staying obsessed with a real problem long enough to solve it better than the fear of running out of time could stop you. Most founders don't fail because they weren't smart enough. They fail because they fell in love with their solution before anyone else fell in love with the problem. There's still one piece we haven't touched: how the companies that actually reach billion-dollar scale decide, almost ruthlessly, what to say no to. And that part, the discipline of ignoring good opportunities to protect one great one, might be the hardest skill in this whole conversation.